Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Your Football Show. My apologies for being late. As Nige D said, I was just quickly washing my hair, as was Luke, as was Joe. It takes us a while because we have to go all the way around our bodies and that, do you know what I mean? And come back to the beards. Yeah, exactly. I hope you are all doing well. Please do smash a like on the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, and hit that notification bell. And of course, for me, it's been a good day. And of course, there'll be a lot of content out there for you to sample. I know I was doing it over the last 24 hours, just seeing everyone's reactions, as I like to do. I like to keep it in the Leeds United family. And you can too by following each and every one of these lovely fellas' channels. So we have Chris at All Leeds TV, Jer at Leeds United View. We've got Rocco at the Leeds That Pod. We have Max at Leeds Lately. And of course, we have Luke at Auto Know Better. And all links to their channels are in the description. So make sure you go check them out. I wanted to start by coming to the more positive of the gang, just to get their initial thoughts on the news. And I've been wanting to make this joke for a while, but I sort of stopped it. But I was asked to retweet a Jesse Marsch masterclass the other day. So I just wanted to come to Max and tell me what he felt about the disaster class that was Jesse Marsch's tenure. Over to you, Max.
Well, first of all, the masterclass wasn't Jesse Marsch, it was me.
I'm joking.
But yeah, at the end of that video, I almost tongue-in-cheek went, I'm still Jesse in. And then by the time I think the end of the Forest game came, I think people could see who were in my stream that right at the end of the thing, I was really dejected, really down, because I was thinking, it's just not going to work, is it? I think that was the switch in my head. I know it obviously went for some other people a long time ago, but the switch in my head that my positivity is not going to change anything and that this isn't going to work in the end was in that game, because it was just summed up our whole season, didn't it? We started really brightly, and in the end, it wasn't good enough, and we weren't able to win the game. And it's a results business, the Premier League. So as much as I tried to be positive, just because I didn't see the point in not being, if he was still going to be our manager, if you will. I didn't want to make myself upset about losing the results. So I just tried to sort of back him and because that's all I could do, really. But yeah, he provided us with a few good moments, but in the end, he just didn't really cut it, did he? And it wasn't good enough for the Premier League. Like I say, it's a results business. So at sometimes you've just got to cut your losses and try something new.
Yeah, no, for sure. Is anyone, I guess, Luke, are you surprised at the decision? I guess we all agree it's the right decision at this point, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the right decision. Am I surprised by the decision? I think I am, if I'm honest. Just because of the stage of the season that we're at, I don't think. I mean, I tweeted as much earlier. Look, I don't think the performances have reflected the results all season. To be honest with you, I think you look back and there's a lot more points we probably should have picked up. But something's clearly not right. Whether that's a confidence thing, whether that's down to the way he's massaging egos and maybe has favourites. I've seen today that there's a couple of ex-players that have liked the Instagram post.
I noticed that.
I just something clearly not right. I've been banging the drum saying that the players are playing for him week in, week out. But I mean, it sort of puts that element of doubt in your mind now as to say, have they been playing for him, or have they actually been playing for the club or somebody else at the club? You know, it's a real difficult one. I think the most surprising thing is for me, Joe, is they've done it before 2 games against Scum, where I think the style we play, or Jesse plays might have been a decent style to go in and play those with. So look, and nobody expects realistically, if you're honest with yourself, for us to get anything out from those 2 games.
No.
So I thought they may have waited until after that and given themselves a little bit more time in finding a suitable replacement. They might have been doing that for a while. I've seen reports today going back to saying they were looking at sacking him in January and all sorts of different things. And I'm sure it'll all come out in the wash because Rads will be on Twitter next time we win the game. So
100%.
I am surprised by the timing. Do I think it should have happened? I think the time is right for me.
Yeah. And Joe, that's what I wrote it down because there was loads I wanted to get in, and sometimes I've got a terrible memory. But Luke touched on it about we all believed, even myself, that everyone was happy. But seeing the Bamford interview after and him sort of question the tactics a little bit, we're seeing Click in post. Of course, Click's a shithouse anyway, but I do believe there will be players that he would have been close to within that group that will have aligned with his, viewpoints, his thought process. So do you think they were all playing for him, or was there a little bit of we're just losing games here? And I suppose the same happened under Bielsa. It's all good if you're winning, right? But if you're losing, then people start to go, we ain't got a clue.
Well, that's what it is. It comes down to results at the end of the day. I said up until the window closed, I was willing to give him a chance. I thought there was moments, I agree with Luke, there was moments this season where I thought, if we can just do that more often, it's there, they've done it. If they can do it more often, we won't be in this situation. But there's an inconsistency there, and there has to be a reason for that. And it's a consistent inconsistency, if that makes any kind of sense. It's happening far too often for it to be it's a bad day or it's a bad 20 minutes. Yesterday kind of summed it up for me. I thought the first half created loads, looked really dangerous, and then concede. And then as soon as you concede, you're like, but we're not going to score now. We're not, that's the problem. And I think by 10 minutes in the second half, you kind of realized a few of the players had kind of gone, what's the point in doing this? Because the performance in the second half was so much far below the first half performance. I don't know what was said in the dressing room at halftime. But my last, the transfer talk stream that I did at the end of the transfer window with Michael from American Leeds podcast as well, Michael Maynard, the two of us said at the very end of it, window's closed, he's got better players. And I've been saying all year, we need better players. These players, a lot of these players are still championship level players who are punching above their weight. Got better players, got seriously backed. And the last thing I said was, no more excuses now. Over to you, Jesse. And that's the full stop. He said it himself last week. There's no more excuses now. And you lose the next game after that against Nottingham Forest. Then you just said it. There's no more excuses. So what's the result? The result is you kind of have to go at this point. So yeah, yesterday I kind of went, that's it. Has to change now. Has to, because I do agree with Luke. I actually thought Jesse Stowe would get something against Man United because he got something against Liverpool. He played well against Arsenal. But I think Leeds have probably looked at it and gone, probably not going to get anything out of the next two games. That gives us a week to get a player in. Let's cut the cord now and get someone else new. And some of the names being touted around are pretty interesting.
Yeah, they are, right? They Rocco, some of the names that have been mentioned. But I sort of, even me, I felt that they've got him all these players and only give him really one game to bet them in. It seems a bit mad to have backed him up right up until this point. And then, I think it's the right decision. I know you do too, having listened to the pod late last night, but I don't know, it seems a bit off. But do you think the decision was made on the fact that, if he was to get a result against Man United, that do they still have confidence that he would then go get something against Southampton and Everton, and they're really the games that we need to be winning?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought after yesterday he was done, but I did think they'd probably give him the away game at Man U. Roll the dice while they're looking for a new manager. But yeah, they've done it now, and I'm not complaining. I just think the thing. I feel sorry for him a bit in that he had a really tough job. When he came here, he had a really tough job to keep us up. In my opinion, most people or some people won't like it or agree. I think we stayed up in spite of him. I think he was crap last season, but we managed to somehow, get over the line. He's earned himself a chance this season. Another really tough job. We lost Rafinha and Phillips, our only two top quality players, really. So it was difficult. It was always going to be difficult. But the problem is, he's just proved himself incapable and incompetent. There's so much evidence that says that he's not good enough to be a top level manager. And the other thing I feel sorry for him is the staff that he's got with him, as we've seen, the pedigree of the three guys that are going to take the Man U game. Like when you look at their CVs, it's pitiful. Like, how could the club allow themselves to get into this position where they've got such a lack of knowledge and experience at the club? So, and that's the thing why I don't really believe that the players were completely behind him. And I don't believe the board were either by January. I think they've brought players to try and keep us up, obviously. But in the back of their heads, I think they knew that he was close to the sack. And I think it was coming out now that they were thinking about making a change early January. So probably that Perkins goal has cost us a chance of getting a new manager earlier and a few more points. But yeah, I don't know about the next guy. I really don't. I want someone experienced, someone who'll command respect straight away. But I just don't know what they're going to go for. And everything is a risk, you know. Who knows now?
Yeah. I was talking about this earlier, Chris, like saying how when you look at those that have gone as well, like Toshak and Brenny Maric, and no disrespect to them, I don't think anyone really in that dugout had the credentials for me personally to ever be at Leeds United managing in the Premier League. I know that sounds hindsight and harsh now, but really, I mean, it just never had it for me. I know, you know, your opinions changed over time and all that sort of stuff, but just happy that the decision has been made now and looking forward.
Yes, mate. I think anyone who follows me on Twitter will know what my opinion was when that goal went in for Forest. I've been saying I've been sat on the fence. Well, I hopped off it and I was about 15 paddocks over, about 30 minutes after that goal went in. Because it was just rinse and repeat. Week in, week out. Start well, can't score, give a silly free kick or something away, concede. And then the opposition team go into a low block and go, you're never going to break us down because you can't play you can't play that way. The second half was a disgusting performance, actually. Not even just dour, it was absolutely disgusting. And I saw a lack of fight, a lack of desire from a lot of the players. You know, take Willie Nyonto out of it, who again was streets ahead of anyone else on the pitch. and Paddy's, I agree, Paddy's comments at the end in his interview were very telling. And yeah, I knew it was done. I'm surprised it's been done so quickly. I didn't think the board would have the chops to do it so quickly. No. I really didn't. I thought we'd be sat here at the end of this week going, oh God, he's still going to be in charge for the second Scum game. And then they've just pulled the plug. So, I mean, fair play to him for doing that. I mean, there's rumours that they weren't all agreed on it. Orta apparently not happy that he's going and was still backing him. But you're right, mate. None of those coaching staff on that bench fill me with any confidence. And you look at the previous manager and the people who he had in and around him, Corberan, who've all gone off and are doing things. Do you know what I mean? Then you look at this Wallies, and they'll all be managing down, down the Sunday League Park MLS job at Leeds.
It's true. You bang on, because straight away I'm thinking there, like when Dean Smith left Brentford, for example, like Thomas Frank just stepped straight across. You know, there's always like something there, and you're right. There's just nobody, right? Like, who's actually going to take the reins? It's all a bit mad. Now, there's been a host of names mentioned, but before we touch on specific names, is there anyone here that says, you know what, this is the guy that we need? Like, this is who I want to come in straight away and will be sound. I mean, for me, it'd be a return of the Mac, return of the King, but it is what it is.
Is he going to start?
That's never going to happen.
Is he going to give up on man marking? No.
No, I don't care.
I'm afraid to be afraid the players are probably better. I like Carlos Corberan because I think and everyone's saying today he's not got Premier League experience. Yeah, but nobody has until they come to Premier League. You know, if you get a foreign manager, he hasn't got Premier League experience, and it's a very different league. Corberan, for me, has shown in 2 stints, one with Huddersfield and now at West Brom, that he can take a team that's in the bottom 3 of the division and get them moving rapidly up the table. Look what he's done in 13 games in charge of West Brom. He's got them from 3rd from bottom to 5th in the league. He's averaging 2.3 points per game. So, like, for me, it's someone like Corberan. I've seen Andoni Areola be mentioned as well. I probably butchered his name, but Ariel Vallecano, he's a student of Bielsa, played from there. Also was at New York City when Vieira was there as well. So has that coaching background as well, and plays a very similar style to Bielsa without the man marking. He plays a mix between man marking and zone marking. He'd be an exciting one to have a look at. I think they're playing at 8:00 tonight as well. They're the 2. And Ange, I can never say his second name, Postecoglou at Celtic. I watch a lot of Celtic, obviously being Irish, but Ange has a nice standard of play, but I don't think he's at the level of the Premier League just yet. He's longer, but for me, it'd either Corberan knows the club, knows the players, knows the history, knows the expectation of the club, wouldn't be wowed by it walking in the door, and has a history of getting teams out of the bottom 3 up the table. So, on that basis, I would love to go for Carlos.
Just on the Corberan thing, Chris almost convinced me last night that he was the man for the job. And I saw honestly, I was like, absolutely. And then the more I think about it, and just on Corberan specifically, I mean, we know that the Championship is a completely different animal to the Premier League. We know that. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't watch a lot of Championship football anymore, but I'm not sure how similar he is to Bielsa. But it worked for us in the Championship. Is that going to transition into the Premier League, his style? The only time he's managed in a top league was in Greece, and he had arguably the Greek giants, and he only won 2 games from a possible 11. And to put that into context, they've only lost 2 since then, which was back in towards the end of last year sometime. So that just concerns me a little bit. Look, I think it'd be great. He knows some of the squad, and I think from what I understand, what Chris tells me, his style is Bielsa, but with a little bit more defense, which is probably what we'd need. But yeah, that I think Rocco mentioning somebody that he wants somebody commanding, somebody with a bit of authority, somebody. I'm not sure Corberan brings that for us.
No. Do you have an answer to that, Rocco? Would you back Corberan or?
Yeah, no, I would back Corberan. He's the one person that I would be happy to roll the dice with. Yeah, like Jay says, everyone is a risk. And yeah, although Corberan doesn't fit the bill that, I'd want ideally, I don't really know if that guy exists that, that I'm talking about, to be fair, that we could get. Corberan, I think he would command respect, certainly from half the squad that already know him. And, just like sometimes just looking at a guy, like, it might sound a bit weird, but like you can sort of see the wisdom in Corberan's eyes. Like I believe everything he says. Like when he's doing an interview, like I buy into him like completely. And I think he sounds very knowledgeable and he's doing a fantastic job in his last two roles in England. So yeah, I'd be willing to give him a go because I do think we probably need something special. If we were to appoint someone like Benitez who fits my attributes that I wanted, like I don't know if he'd do it. I think we need someone who's going to excite the place and just like reinvigorate us as well. So, yeah, U-turn. Let's go with Corberan.
Yeah, I would have backed the appointment of Benitez as well.
So,
like
yeah,
I did say that. Like I think he'd have been great. But yeah, listen, it is what it is. I just think he's won a lot of things. You know what I mean? He's not a joke. Max, you have quite a vast array of knowledge across the international market, I would say, more so than myself anyway.
I've heard.
Yeah, high praise for you, mate. High praise. What are your thoughts on that? Or do you know much about Areola? Is it Areola? How am I saying it?
I don't know.
I looked it up at
Areola.
And apparently it's Areola.
Areola. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Right. But it's hard to say.
I think what struck me during that game was a bit of a crisis of what the Premier League actually is. And what I was thinking was, does it work having an attacking style of play in the bottom half of the Premier League? That's what the question really was on my lips, is that does it actually work playing like this? Or are we living in a fantasy because of what we've seen under Bielsa? Is it more that season when we finished 9th was the exception and not the rule to playing attacking football in the bottom half of the Premier League? And is it that you do need somebody like Rafa Benitez or Sean Dyche who will just sit you in at the back? And yeah, it's horrible to think about. But is the question really? Is that what Leeds need? I mean, we haven't really got the squad to do that sort of thing. Yeah. We have seen it before where somebody has come in and done that to another team, like when Everton had Allardyce and people like that come in, and they did terribly because they didn't have a squad set up to play like that because they had terrible defenders. So Corberan for me is probably the ideal, because the Premier League experience to me says that when he's coached in the Championship, most of the Championship is much of a muchness in terms of quality of squad. You don't really get many teams with a ridiculously better squad than everybody else unless they've just been relegated from the Premier League. And even then, it's not that guaranteed that they're going to go back up. But that tells me that what Corberan is used to is beating teams of a similar quality, which is what Leeds need. Jesse Marsch was good at beating teams that were better than us, but there's more teams around us of a similar level to us than there is those top 6 teams, which is just my great maths coming into play. But Corberan, maybe he comes in and he's the sort of manager who beats us Everton, beats us Southampton, beats all the teams around us. And we saw that Bielsa really struggled, and apart from that anomaly where we beat Man City, to beat those top teams. But those are the glory moments, aren't they, that you live for. But really what you actually need is to beat more of the teams around you than have 2 wins in 19 and beat bloody Liverpool and Chelsea. So Corberan's probably quite a good fit because, like Jer says, he sort of combined Marcelo's style with a little bit more pragmatism in terms of going zonal in defence and not having Diego Llorente run into the opposition half and leave a massive hole at the back. So maybe it's kind of the best of both worlds, and really it's probably what we were all asking Bielsa to do towards the end, because we still wanted him to play that style of football, but we wanted him to have a bit of defensive structure at all instead of being a wet paper towel at the back. And maybe Corberan bridges that gap. And like everybody else has said, he already knows the club. He won't be overawed coming in. I think it's kind of a match made in heaven. Yeah. But with any manager, it's going to be a risk. So everybody's saying that it's a risk to bring Corberan in. It's a risk to bring Iraola in because he's never managed in the Premier League before. So it's a risk to bring anyone in. But for me, Corberan is probably the best of both worlds. And that's kind of what we need right now.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think what was quite sad for me as well yesterday, Chris, it was actually quite sad, was seeing Leeds United fans fighting each other in the ground. And I just thought, like, we've gone from being... Not that we care about this, but just to look at it in a thing of everyone's second favourite team. We were murals everywhere around Yorkshire. Everything was happy. We were all, slapping each other, to then fighting in the stands again and like kicking bloody metal gates like we're going to knock people out at Forest and that, and it was just
we're going to fight
yeah. And
I'll be back.
Yeah. I was a bit like, oh man, it's just gone back to what it used to be like. And do you think with an appointment like Corberan, it instantly unites a lot of the fan base? I think there will still be some who hated Bielsa that much for whatever reason will say, he's just as bad, blah, 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 blah. But it should do a big job of uniting the majority of people.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And it's another reason why I think Corberan is the man, along with all the reasons that lads have said. I do think he unites 98% of the fan base because he's got the ties to Bielsa, to the manager that some people can't let go of, and that's fair enough.
Who are you talking about?
But he has, Max is absolutely right. He has,
I don't wear it like Superman. Just rip it off. There he is. Hey, there we go. See.
But he has got the tactical now. 8 goals in 14 games have conceded in the Championship, and that's a team who were leaking goals for the first few games. So I do think he's the man to do it. Appreciated. I don't have much knowledge of managers around Europe, South America, so I don't know who else is out there. But it just feels like it's time for Carlos to come home. It's almost like the fairy tale finish to what has been a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah.
After the dream happened, and it could just bring it round full circle. And I do also think that if the worst happened at the end of the season, Carlos would be the man to bring us back up as well.
Yeah. Chris, I love that.
Chris, is he then the man after the man? Because
that's what I was going to do as well. I was going to say that. Go on, Joe.
Because coming in after Bielsa, there's a huge weight on your shoulders, a massive shadow that he casts. And I mean, one of the things I feel sorry for Jesse Marsch the most about is he was the guy after Bielsa, and you're kind of onto a hiding for nothing straight away. With Carlos having that little gap of one manager, was like, well, I'm not the last guy. He has that.
He'll only be compared to Marsch, won't he? Rather than, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree, mate. And yeah, I said the man after the man. And I just, you know, fans can dream. We're allowed to dream, right? But if someone said Poch is willing to come, then I'd absolutely chew your arm off. Well, that's not going to happen. Tuchel's not going to come. But let me just say this while it's on my brain. Some of the takes I've seen from ex-professionals this afternoon is just beyond the pale. Players who have played for Leeds. Paul Robinson, unbelievable what he said on Sky Sports News.
I've missed it, mate. I've been out. Oh, it's on Twitter here. He's got
about the Celtic manager, and then when Harry Kewell, his assistant, who's the link. I'm like, oh my God.
For a Leeds player to say Harry Kewell is still a legend at Leeds,
he's Robinson.
He should know better. He should really know better.
He was there in Galatasaray as well. He was on the bench. It's incredible. Like when I spoke to Nigel Martin about it, and like he could not believe that Kewell went and played for them. So I just can't believe that, you know, his fellow goalkeeper in that squad is so naive and oblivious to how we feel about Harry Kewell. And why doesn't he feel about him like that himself? That's the other thing.
The only thing I'd say about Postecoglou is Kewell isn't one of his people. When he took the Celtic job, Kewell wasn't with him. Kewell only came in this season. He was brought in as an additional coach because they wanted to add more coaches to their setup. But he didn't come in with Postecoglou's original coaching team. He was an add-on after the fact a year later.
I don't know if Kewell would have the nads to come back.
Oh, he would.
No chance.
No chance.
So up himself, he would.
You think?
No problem. Yeah. He'd walk back in that door, no problem. Yeah.
He wouldn't. He'd be chased out quickly.
Oh, yeah, he wouldn't
get in the door.
He would be, yeah.
You would see me back down at the ground, I tell you that much. I'm telling you that for now.
I'll fly over, Joe. I won't get a ticket for the match. I'll just fly over and stand there and shout at him.
If he managed to make it into the dugout, the game wouldn't kick off because it would absolutely go off at Ellen Road.
Well, it would kick off, but in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. Colin, thanks for the super chat. Always supporting the channel. Cheers, lads. Not even sure I can watch the Man United match. It's going to be tough. We will appoint the right person and hopefully steady our ship. Thanks for your super chat. What were you saying, Luke?
Just on these obviously Phil Hayes linked. He thinks that Areola is very well liked.
Call a nipple board.
Nipple. Have I said it wrong? Really wrong.
Nipple boy.
Yeah, the lads take the piss out of me all the time because I get names wrong all the fucking time. But yeah, just on him. I mean, he from what I've only just read. I knew him as a player. He was a steady right back. I think he played hundreds of games for. Was it Bilbao or Madrid?
Yeah.
One of the two. Bilbao, yeah. And I always remember being a steady defender and signing him on FIFA and whatever else. And then, from what I understand, his style is quite good. I mean, he took a second division side to the semi-final of the Spanish Cup last season. You know. If they fancy him, there's a real reason, isn't there? You know, but yeah, I mean, I do agree, and I hear your points on Corbyn. I just think Corbyn is a bigger risk than somebody who's managing the top level in Europe. I mean, we could use Marsch as an example there, but but yeah, I think I just want somebody who's a little bit. I don't know if it's a little bit too soon for Corbyn, and we are a massive club in comparison to the clubs he's managed before.
Whether we think it's too soon for someone like Corbyn, do we all at least agree that they don't have to have Premier League experience? Because I'm so
yeah.
There's only a very limited pool to pick from if you have to go for someone with Premier League experience, and that's when you
Hassan Hüttl.
Been sacked.
That's when you start to look at Hassan Hüttl, Gerrard, and Lampard, and you think, well, no, thanks.
Mate, Erling Haaland didn't have Premier League experience, and I know we're talking about players here, but it's that whole thing of I don't agree with it. It is what it is.
It's a very old-fashioned way of looking at it, isn't it?
Yes. I think the other thing makes more difference for a player than it does for a manager.
Yeah. The other thing as well is you're hiring a manager with Premier League experience. The chances are he's a manager who's been sacked with Premier League experience by a Premier League club, which means at one point their fans didn't think he could cut it the Premier League anymore. So I mean, it's all the same.
Lado Marsch had a fight with. What's he called? Wolves.
You gotta be more specific than that, Max.
Ex-Wolves boss.
Bruno Lage.
Yes, he's also available. But those are the ones you've got to pick
Yeah,
from.
true.
Talking about Premier League experience. So
can we take Steven Gerrard out of the equation completely?
Yeah.
Whoever thinks that's a good idea needs to shake their head, wash their face, and cop on.
Mate,
It might be all right if he
steps
steps into our midfield, but it's not as a manager.
Might get in as well.
True. Rocco, do you have any sort of confidence going into these Man United games now that a change has been made?
I think Wednesday gives me the John Carver Luton 6-1 vibes, I'm afraid. But then after that, I think on Sunday in the home game, like almost whatever happens on Wednesday, it's going to be incredible on Sunday. Everyone's going to be bang up for it. Even if we lose 5-0, almost we'll stoke it even more, And if we've got a new manager in place by then, which I think we all expect that we will, hopefully, finally we'll get a bit of a new manager bounce. And I think we can do them. They're on amazing form, but I'm still not convinced that they're that good. And especially when they're missing, half the midfield or all the midfield. Hopefully we can get at them. Hopefully they're due an off day and we can get the sort of miracle result that kept Harold Wilkinson in a job all those years in the mid-90s. So yeah, I feel like we can. I think we can at Ellen Road, but I'm not particularly looking forward to Wednesday night. That must be said.
No, not Winter. I guess. Is anyone surprised at which the speed in which it looks like Leeds United are ready to get a new manager in the door? Really, it's boom. I wasn't expecting it to be as quick, if I'm honest.
We were in conversation with Marsh when they were thinking about sacking. It wasn't even when they were thinking about sacking Bielsa. It was when they knew that Bielsa worked from year to year, and they had a suspicion, or from what they had conversations with him, that he wasn't going to stay on at the end of last season, even if he hadn't have been sacked. And so they were already talking to, they'd actually spoken to him. They hadn't just lined him up. They'd actually spoken to him and said, "Would you be ready to do it?" Because Marsh said himself, he said he was ready to come in the summer, and they obviously sped up that process. Walter has the same list as what he does with players for managers.
Just to jump in now, it's been reported that Real Madrid Castilla head coach Raul has rejected the chance to become Leeds United manager.
I don't believe that.
You don't believe it?
No.
I mean, it's from Transfer News Live. It's come from
out of nowhere.
Diarios, who have got through. Listen, I suppose Twitter followers don't mean for shit. I will retweet it, but that's just been reported that apparently he's turned it down. He's waiting for the Real Madrid top job, apparently. I didn't even know Raul was doing bits, so there you go.
I heard a couple of things yesterday, last night. From what I heard, I'm not in the know, but I got a few bits and pieces. From what I was told, Jesse was fired last night.
Okay.
And also what I heard was that it was Rads who was his last man standing. That the 49ers wanted Jesse gone as early as the beginning of January. That's when they had the talks. Then they wanted a change then, and that apparently the last man standing was Rads. He was the one that was hanging on and wanted Jesse to stay.
Out of his pocket, that's why.
Probably, yeah. Well, it is right now. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, that's correct. The severance package would pay by Rads right now, not next year. But yeah, so apparently they wanted him gone. And from from people who are actually in the know, you'd like to Phil Hayden, you've a couple of people around saying the list of names is getting out, and from Adam Pope as well. And Areola and Corberan are on that list, and what order they're on the list, but Raul hasn't been mentioned. You're going to have a ton of names now. We're going to say they
of course. Yeah.
And I think this is another reason why I think it will be Corberan. Is we were speaking about it last night, weren't we, in the messages? There's a reason it was his name that was dropped by the press last night as a potential replacement. Yeah. It's not just been pulled out of thin air. That's the club testing the waters. That is the club testing the waters. I'd almost guarantee it. That's a nice little leak from someone in the club. We're thinking about Carlos Corberan. Go and see what people think about it.
The fact that they said that they'll have a coach in by Friday, by the end of the week, means that there's already movement there now. Yeah. Everyone's saying, Corberan's doing a job at West Brom. He wouldn't leave that job. Of course he would, because Premier League money and it's Premier League wages. He knows the job. Of course he would. Absolutely.
And it's Leeds United, man. Forget the baggies. Let's be real here. Do you know what I mean?
And the worst case scenario for him is in back in the same league next season with us, with a strong squad. You'd argue,
and he knows he can do a job. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But hey, just don't let logic get in the way of a mental decision being made. Whatever you do.
Great footballing mind, I call him anyway. You might not agree, but John McKenzie, formerly of All Stats Aren't We, has done a bit of a thread because he's been getting quite a few questions on Areola. And he said, here's a few thoughts. So he said, I'll share this just so people can see it and we can have a little deek at this while we're having a chat. Just one sec. There we go.
There's a comment there in chat as well. I also do accept the fact that the Corberan name could be linked as a smokescreen as well. There is that, obviously, there's that possibility as well. But
100%. John McKenzie says, look, he's one of the greatest pressing coaches in the world right now. Uses a hybrid system, mix of zonal and man orientated out of possession to press high man to man and drop deep into a more zonal structure. Very direct, opposite side of the same coin for high-intensity pressing sides. However, I think well-structured compared to a lot of transitional approaches. Fullbacks do a lot of progression. Centre mids largely OOP focused. Does anyone want to tell me what that is?
Out of possession.
There you go. In terms of squad fit, fullback area would be an issue, but beyond that, I don't see any real problems. Would be interesting to see what he would do coming in mid-season. Hybrid system takes a lot of work. If he can keep us up, then I suspect there would be a huge improvement curve next season. Any thoughts on that? Does it worry you? Fullbacks. Oh, hang on. Where is everyone?
It is just Joe.
There we go. I don't know what happened then. I was on my own. I was like, shit.
Like I say, I'd never heard his name until this afternoon, but I don't watch the league or anything like that.
Yeah.
Everyone I've seen online who does watch it says this guy's the real deal. So if that is the person we end up going with, I'm bang up for it because people who are in the know about this stuff seem to really, really rate the guy. Yeah. And I think tactically, he's probably quite similar to Corberan in what he does, a bit of a mixed match of Bielsa and other stuff. Yeah. But he's done it at a perceived higher level right now. So, you know, if he's the man they go with and he says, yes, let's have it.
He's brought a club up into La Liga and he's had 2 mid-table finishes with them back-to-back.
And the fifth
or sixth at the moment. Yeah, they're playing tonight. Yeah. So yeah. The other thing as well is I remember very clearly on Twitter. I've coached before, but I've loads of these little 1-page printouts of quotes from managers or different things. And I had a few from Bielsa before he started. I didn't know who he was. I actually found out after we'd hired him. I was like, oh, hang on, I got a ton of his stuff somewhere, and I never knew who he was. I just liked his quotes. But I remember reading on Twitter when we hired him, the amount of people who said some RG is coming in to take over Leeds. That was everywhere when he was hired day one. No one knew who he was. Where everyone can act ignorant now and pretend that they all knew who he was beforehand. We didn't. Nobody knew who he was. He had a track record of spending a year, maybe a year and a half at a club and then leaving or falling out with somebody and walking out. So Bielsa came in with, you know, if you were to look at his track record, you would have said, he's not Premier League ready, or he's not Championship level even. He shouldn't be in the club. He's not going to stay. This isn't a long project. He'd be gone in a year. And he stayed and he proved everyone wrong. And then we get to talk about him. But when he first came in, unheard of by Leeds fans and referred to as some RG by quite a lot of Leeds fans.
Well, I would say about that, for every manager who is like that, that's come in unknown and done well, that there's probably half a dozen or more that have come in and not done it, even at Leeds and what have you. I mean, I certainly wouldn't write this guy off, but I mean, Rayo Vallecano are a very, very small club. They're on the crest of a wave. As he may have just gone in there at the right time and he's doing well, but coming into Leeds is a very different thing. I mean, I'd have preferred to, when I saw his name, I'd never heard of him, so obviously research him, and I'd have preferred him to have a bit, have been, successful at 2 clubs at least. Yeah. So it's such a small sample size. A manager can go in and do wonders. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but I mean, Gerrard did quite well at Rangers, I suppose, and then went to Villa and just did crap. So I don't know. I'm not saying write him off, but I must admit I'd be a bit concerned.
I think we're operating in a different space now, though. Maybe is the difference is that when we were in the Championship, when we brought in Christensen and he'd been in the Cypriot League and stuff, and you thought, well, he's not got Championship experience, but let's see what he can do. Do you know what I mean? But I think now that we're operating in the Premier League with a manager like this, it could still go wrong. You're right. But I think it's not as much of a gamble as something like that, because at least he's managing and he's got a couple of seasons behind him in the top Spanish division. And like you say, it might be a bit different because they'll be massive underdogs because they're a small club. They won't have the best team. Whereas Leeds is a big club and a big weight of expectation. But yeah, but then, like we said before, it's a risk, whoever you bring in, and it's always going to be impossible to tell. If we had a crystal ball, we'd pick the perfect manager, wouldn't we? But it's just so hard to know who's going to do what. And I suppose people are leaning towards familiarity with Corberan because he's been at the club before.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only thing that worries me is the fullbacks. If his system is reliant on fullbacks when he first comes in, I feel like he may need to be a little bit adaptable if he did come in and say, right, for the first few months until the end of this season, my fullbacks aren't going to be flying because I'm going to need them to sit back and defend, and we're going to have to create attacks in different ways. Because at the moment, when we have our fullbacks going forward, or when we've had them going forward under Jesse Marsch, we always leave gaps and we're punished. So I just hope he's adaptable if he does.
Every single system is dependent on fullbacks. There isn't a system that's not dependent on fullbacks. Either it's to cover, either it's to attack. They're all dependent on fullbacks. Our fullbacks just aren't great at defending, which is a problem.
I think they'd be better at defending if they were in a defensive structure. Yeah. Like if they weren't having to chase back and do you know what I mean? When they're making recovery runs and then they don't know where to be, and it's like if they were just back to start with, they might have a better chance of defending. And maybe Rasmus comes in then and is more solid as a defender when he's not way out of position than he would be if he was flying up and down the wings. I don't know. It's, again, crystal ball time. It's impossible to know.
Just on that, I mean, regardless who you're bringing out, I mean, if supposing it is going to be either Corbin or I can't be asked trying to say his name, the other guy. They're much of a muchness in terms of risk. The Spanish league's very different to the Premier League, as is the Championship to the Premier League. You know, so either way, it's a little bit of the unknown. But it sounds like as a group and certainly online from what I've seen, we're excited that it's just not Jesse Marsch going to be leading us. I think as a collective. You know what I mean? So whoever it is, I'm sure we'll all get behind him.
I saw someone tweet earlier, you know that clip of Danny Dyer in the back of the taxi where he goes, I'm fucking shitting myself. And someone put it, the wide 20 yards on either side of Leeds United's pitch. Now Jesse's gone. Oh, yeah, as long as he don't play penis ball, I'm up for him coming in and just doing something. You're on mute.
There we go. Sorry about that. Football Insider claim Corberan is number 1, CDK Mark 2. I don't know. Christopher Junction, I don't know about that.
That came off this morning. I had that in the news this morning. It was the Daily Mail ran it last night, and then Football Insider picked it up this morning and ran the same, exactly the same story, nearly verbatim. Yeah,
it's just an aggregator, isn't it? Toby Ward says, when we get a new manager, do you think players will be dropped to the bench and not make regular starts? If so, who? So I did write this down, Toby. Thank you very much for your super chat. To finish up, really, when this new manager comes in the door, what's the first thing you change? Like, what's the first thing you change? Like, and what is there anything drastically that needs to change? I think we're all going to go to actually fucking going out wide where the space is, but like personnel, anything, Chris? Go on, you've got your finger up, mate.
Number 1, turn Netflix off. Go to training pitches. And just first things first, work on some defensive structure. And, start at the back. And then we've got a plethora of players who are good out wide. Just go and tell them to stand on the wings and create some space. Strong at the back, bit of width. Jobs are good. And we've enough in this squad then to survive.
Yeah. Do you know what, Chris? I don't think we haven't been playing wide. I don't know if I've been watching a different game. But we literally were on the touchlines all game. But the problem was there was 5 attacking players. 5 attacking players on the same touchline.
We play in them spaces. I suppose wide is different to width. Like, we play in wide spaces, but don't actually play with width. Like, that's what Bamford was saying, is I need people to be running on to create space. What we're actually doing is, yes, we'll hug the touchline, but all 10 of us will hug the touchline and leave 9 and leave Luke Ayling out there and then not find him. Do you know what I mean? Like... Yeah,
a lot of teams set up like that. No, now even you look at your Cities and your Barcelonas, and that. I mean, granted they've got much better players and the ability to do it, but that is technically how they set up to win the ball in groups and move it. But,
it's the same at every level, though, isn't it, Luke? I mean, if you look at Bielsa, if he has Man City's team, he probably wins the Premier League every single year. Might win the Champions League, given lesser players, you're not going to win as much. You're going to struggle, so it's relative.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm just. I guess Rocco, would you change blankets on the subs bench, bro?
Yeah, that's the first thing. Burn the blankets.
I know that sounds trivial, but it's brutal, isn't it? Really, let's be honest.
There's a reason for it. The timing doesn't help. Same with the Netflix thing. I understand the reason for it, but it's not when it starts leaking out stuff like that and. The timing makes it look worse. The blankets is because players, especially for the players that were on the bench to come on, they have to stay warm so the muscles don't seize up and they don't get injuries. They usually have these leg warmer things that they wear. They must have forgot them and brought towels instead. Like I saw that tweet and I was like, any other time of the year, it's probably not a big deal. But given where we are, everything's going to be picked at. The Netflix thing, I saw that as well, but that's been leaked out by somebody. That's not a good look either. Motivational stuff is done a ton of times in clubs. I had 2 or 3 sports psychologists come in and talk to players as well about positive mind frames. You do that kind of stuff. Problem is when it's not working and you're still, and when you pick up the redeem team, you're pretty much telling the players this ain't working. You need to get better, and that's the problem with that. So as Chris,
there's Mighty Ducks on next week, Joe.
Hey, it is the optics. Yeah.
I tell you what, I bet Netflix are loving it though, because I bet there's so many people start watching the Redeem Team now going,
I side of the Bielsa press conference and then Jesse Marsch's version. It was Bielsa with all the stats and then Jesse Marsch with the Netflix logo. That was the.
Yeah. I think the main thing for me, we need to have whoever the new coach is coming in for me is a separate plan to the additional plan. The initial plan, is having an additional plan. Bielsa didn't have a second plan. Marsch doesn't have a second plan. Yesterday, there was 11 players behind the ball, the majority of that second half in Forest half, and we looked absolutely fucking clueless. It's you can't make excuses for that. Why not play 2 up top? Why make like for like changes? Why bring a left winger on for a left winger? Why bring a right winger on for a right winger? Why not play just Adams in front of the back 4 and then have 2 strikers? Paddy would have had someone running off him. Probably been Rutter, and we'd look far more dangerous. It might not have worked, but it's a separate plan.
Just to jump in, because I just wanted to share this as well, because I know there's some people saying that
non to FC
and that Leeds United. I mean, maybe this doesn't show what I'm saying, but there's some people in the chat saying that nobody's got a clue apart from those that say that we do play with width. But I think we can see here that a lot of it was funneled just down that left-hand side. You know what I mean? There's no real focus on anyone on the right-hand side, really, which is occupied by Luke Ayling. I don't think we do play with width. I think when the manager has one of his bullet points as play central, what was it? What was the narrow? Wasn't it narrow? Wasn't it minimal width? And you want to be in the comments saying that we're all dimwits, yet the coach has a thing up saying minimal width. That tells you all you need to know. So please be respectful in the comments is what I will say in response to that. Rocco, I heard what Joe was saying about the warm thing and all that sort of stuff, but you made a great point, and maybe it's a little bit of like, I don't know why I bought it, but you mentioned what Sean Dyche said about the snoods and all that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think you might be getting confused, to be honest. I think I was talking about Allardyce when he became the West Brom manager.
No, but who
I don't
was
think
it?
It was me about the snoods.
Was it not?
I've seen it. No. I saw the tweet. Yeah, it was a tweet I saw. Yeah.
Was it James then?
I don't know who it was, but someone he banned him.
It could have been.
Yeah, it was right. It was definitely on Leeds, that, because I listened to it last night. But basically, I'll mention it. So basically, Sean Dyche went in and banned snoods, gloves, all that sort of stuff straight away in training, and said, like, I want my players to train like they're playing a match. And when you're playing a match, you do not wear snoods, you do not wear gloves, all this sort of stuff. This is, and I know that might sound trivial, but you were right in what you were saying on the podding. Like, you look to our bench and they're all like this. Oh, freezing me, Somerville. You know what I mean? I just thought, I was like, what are you doing, man?
Great impression.
Proper Brexit FC, any Dyche.
Yeah, but I love it. Right. Let's go.
Right, none of you are wearing them.
You can fill them off now.
It's just a Dyche thing, and you just know full well he'd have walked out in just his white shirt. On that training.
No, it's a string vest he's wearing and a flat hat. He's got him.
Ramsey Nesbitt.
I think if a new manager
was it yesterday?
What were you saying? No, exactly. Go on, Rocco.
No, just I don't even think it was that cold. Like I've not looked at the temperature, but I mean the sun was out. It looked a fairly nice day. It's daft, isn't it? But it's not the end of the world. If I'd have won, no one would have mentioned it. That's for sure.
That's it. If we were sat mid-table and we're winning 1-0, no one even cares that they're sat under blankets. It's top six again, isn't it?
I'd have been like, how much are they in club shop?
We'd have won yesterday with Bobby on sale.
Marsh's name on.
Yeah. Get him in club shop. I love it, man. We're so fickle, aren't we? I don't mind. It is what it is. What were you going to say, Max? Sorry.
I was just going to say, if a new boss comes in, I think one of the things they do is the system is new to everyone. So I think McKennie then starts, Ruta starts. It's like you play all your best players then, whereas Marsh is probably thinking, they need to get time to get adjusted to my system. Whereas a new boss will come in, everybody's on the same page then, and he brings it in. But I think bringing it back to what you said at the start, Joe, where obviously I made that video about Marsh's tactics, and I think what it was is that some people in the comments were like, "Oh, well, obviously, this is the general idea, but he obviously does a lot more detail behind the scenes." I start to think that maybe he doesn't. And maybe I covered his entire 12 months at Leeds United in 28 minutes. And that's all he's ever told them. Rob Conlon from the Square Ball said that he saw an interview from one of the Villa players anyway, when Gerrard got sacked. And they basically said that he was telling them what to do, but not really how to do it. And I feel like Jesse Marsch has basically done exactly what I did in that video, basically showing them all those tactics. This is what we do with the ball. This is what we do without the ball. In this situation, we do this. And then, but there's sort of not much more to it other than the vibes thing, where it's just so. I feel like any sort of coach who comes in and actually tells them how he wants them to achieve things will do a lot better instantly. Now, Bielsa was like that. He was saying basically that if you do this way, this will open up. And like Harrison was saying, I think on the Leeds United podcast as well, that he knows exactly how much weight of pass to put on, or he knows how to put spin on it to get it into this. He knows where to cross into the box from which position because of all the stuff that Bielsa had taught him. Whereas I just don't think he got any of that from Marsch. It was like one extreme to the other. Now, Jesse Marsch, I think, over-egged how many video sessions they do because of Bielsa. There was a big thing about Bielsa, wasn't there, that he did loads of video sessions, ridiculously so, and like more than he even needed to. But I think Jesse Marsch came in and said, "Oh yeah, we do all these video sessions, we do this and we do that." But really, if the same issues are happening every week and they're not being addressed, are you really doing that, or are your video sessions on Netflix?
Just to expand on that as well, I mean, I completely agree, but he's not really. I mean, I'd struggle to name a player that Jesse improved. I mean, we brought some good players in and good quality, but he didn't really improve anybody, did he?
Rodrigo.
I think some of the.
But Rodrigo, I don't think he improved him. I just think he gave him confidence, and I think that's what Jesse Marsch was about. He was a slap on the arse type guy and tell him how great it was, and that worked for Rodrigo. But the amount of young talent we've got at the club now, that's not probably what we need. They need somebody who can improve them as individuals.
I think Rodrigo was probably a coincidence that he is a lot better when he doesn't have time to think about what he's about to do.
Yeah.
So in Marsch's system, which was just at times organized chaos, saying let's get the ball forward as fast as possible, you get it into Rodrigo's feet and he goes bang, shoot. And that he's instinctively quite a good striker, quite a good finisher. And I think that's why he was doing so well, is that people would pass him the ball, and where he's stood, he's already in a position to shoot, and he just bangs them in.
But what I mean is he didn't improve his statistics or his attributes as an individual. He just
played him up front.
You'd expect the young players, wouldn't you, to be the ones that improved under him, and they kind of did that on their own, really. I mean, Nonto just came in and was good straight away, so it's not really. I mean, tell you what, the only one that he could maybe claim is Somerville.
Yeah, Greenwood. I think you probably saved Greenwood's career at Leeds. To be fair to him, I think Greenwood was probably going to be loaned out or turfed out as a striker because he was a striker, and he wasn't doing particularly well as a striker. I think Greenwood got a second. Now, whether that continues with a new guy coming in, I don't know. But I wanted to just grab real quick on what Chris had said about. Sorry, I think it was Chris said about Jesse Marsch telling the players what to do, but not explaining anything else outside of just telling them. There's a thing that I work. I train trainers in my job, and I use it for footballers, but mostly for trainers. And there's a thing called the golden circle that a guy called Simon Sinek created about how you get inside people's heads and train them to understand things. And the main point of that, and the very first point, is start with why. Not what, not how, why. The reason we're doing this in training is because this applies to this part of a game, which will improve us here. And you explain the why everyone is doing things. Now, from what was being said about Jesse, it doesn't seem like Jesse ever explained to them why they were doing things. He just wanted them to go and do it. And listen, just take what I'm saying on my word. Trust me, 100%. Don't question it, and go and do it without going into the why. And then the other thing as well about the balls being a wide, and Jackie looked lost at times yesterday trying to cross the ball, trying to get past the first man. There's no passing patterns. So I'd love to know what was done in training as much, because I know a lot of Premier coaches will spend tons of time during the week working on passing patterns and predicted phases of play where they go, when we get the ball, we're going to force this phase of play. We've rehearsed it. We know where everyone's going to be. Bielsa lived for that. It was all rehearsed. Every single movement was a planned movement. And then I don't think Jesse did any of that. But again, there's parts of the chaos thing I understand. There's part of the chaos thing that I see some merit in. It just doesn't work in the Premier League. Hasselhüttl didn't work for him in the Premier League either. There seems to be just that system does not work in this division with the caliber of players that are in that league. But if you're not going to start off with why they should do something, it's very hard to get a player to buy into what you're doing.
Well, that's why as well I said about that. Like I half jokingly said I don't think it went any further than what I said in that video, because I watched an hour-long webinar thing, which I'm sure a lot of people have seen bits of anyway, from ages ago when he was at Leipzig or Salzburg, and somebody asked him a question saying, well, what do you do against teams who are trying to who you need to break down? And his answer was literally, we play chip balls and we play ground balls or something like that. And it's like, well, that doesn't mean anything. He said that they'll hit it up to the striker to lay it off to the players running onto it, and then they'll all spin behind and go. But if you're playing against a low block, that doesn't work. And it just makes me think that he really didn't have anything beyond what he beyond just this is what we do. If any questions, he's like, oh, well, I don't know, just this or that.
I mean, you could almost say, if you'd have listened to me, that you'd have.
I knew this was coming.
You'd have known this. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. But no, I think there is something in that, because I started to notice, and I said it on my press conference reaction videos, when he was asked specific tactical nuance questions by reporters, he didn't know how to answer them. He was asked once who he felt Leeds United were like, and he said Newcastle and City. And they were doing well at the times, but I'm like thinking, what?
I bet the journalists have loved it though after Bielsa, because they must have been sat with Bielsa when they asked a question like that and gone, better get the big pad out.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen, it's all fun, man. It's all fun. It's YouTube. It's not real life. I had people having a go at me earlier saying, he's got a wife, he's got kids, and you're celebrating. I'm like, yo, it's just YouTube. It is what it is.
I had people tweeting me like saying, "You're Jesse apologist." Well, how do you feel now? I was like, "Look, I just want the best for the fucking club."
I got called.
Leave me alone.
I got called a sanctimonious happy clapper yesterday. My response was, "Kiss my hole." Was the response?
Yeah, man.
This is the thing, right? No one on here has been vicious towards Jesse Marsch the person. It's just he's not the right fit for Leeds United, and we're Leeds United fans. And at the end of the day, what are we happy still to see him in a job when we're in League One because he needs a job and he's got a wife?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he'll get a job somewhere else, but
MLS probably.
He'll get the US men's national team.
Yeah, he probably will.
It's probably good timing for him. It's probably good timing for him, and he'll get that job and be happy. And it's probably a blessing for him because he gets away from the stress of the situation, which he likes to talk about.
He has aged, doesn't he? Have you seen the two pictures?
It does that to you.
Yeah.
What I'll say as well is I have whoever the next manager is, whether I want to or not, if it's Benitez or if it's Areola or if it's or whatever his name is or Postecoglou, whoever it is, I'm going to support them because I want us to do it. And I'm always going to be like that. You call me a happy clapper or whatever people want to call me, but I'm going to support them until it gets to a point where, if it's gone too far and we need to move on. And I did the same with Jesse. I've supported Jesse pretty much most of the way. I've said at times during it, he's probably 2 games away from the sack. I think I've said since November, Jesse's 2 games away from the sack. And he's always had that 1 game.
Eventually you were right.
Eventually I was right, yeah. I thought it'd be the Man United game during the week. We did the second one. But, I'm not going to start having a pop at a new manager because he's not my choice because I didn't want him or I preferred the previous guy. It's going to be clean slate. You have 100% got my back in. Do this well. You'll get some time to kind of get it to bed in, but get results. And when it runs out of time for that person, we'll say the same thing and we'll go on to the next guy. That's just how it works. But I'm not going to be...
I said this on Twitter earlier. I hope whoever it is that comes in, the fan base now, because Jesse was always up against it again because of the man he followed. But the fan base now have got to unite behind the new manager. They've got to, because this club's better when we're all pushing in the same direction, and it hasn't been under Marsch. It hasn't.
I was not going to mention Bielsa anymore now because Bielsa's 2 managers ago.
I can't. Yeah, that's it. Do you know what I will do though? Right, as soon as we get some wins, I'll go. I fucking told you.
What if we don't?
No, we will, bro. Because for me, anyway, the squad's too good. The squad's too good.
Quality.
Yeah,
especially if in attacking positions, we've got an abundance of talent. So I can't remember who said it before, but if we start from the back and try and solidify there a little bit, you've always got those players who have got enough flair, confidence, and talent to actually go and make goals themselves with not that much instruction. Obviously, they should get plenty of instruction, but at first, they are good enough, I think, to go and create goals themselves.
Yeah, you could last year. Front 4, front 5, go do your thing, and then spend most of your time in training working on when we haven't got the ball and how to be solid, because there is enough natural talent in that front 5 to go and get goals.
Especially with players like Gnonto and Ruta, they're the sort of players who take the game by the scruff of their neck. And we've seen Gnonto, 19-year-old, trying to carry the whole club on his tiny little shoulders, bless him, for the last few weeks and give the ball to him. And he's taking players on. He's trying to get into the box. And I think Ruta will do the exact same. So when you've got players like that, it was almost like when we had Rafinha, give the ball to him and see what he can do. I think we kind of have an element of that on both sides now, which is a good thing to have. So...
Sure. How you probably know more in terms of the guys who are going to be taking over. Sorry, Joe. How are we going to line up?
He plays a 4-2-3-1. But if it's Areola or how we pronounce it.
No, sorry. On Wednesday without a manager.
Oh, I think he's going to play. If Armas is there, it's going to be pretty much the same system. I think. I don't think it's going to change much at all. I mean, now from what I read, Armas is not in charge of the game. Skubala is doing the press conference tomorrow. Yeah. Skubala is in charge for the game, and Armas is just there taking training at the moment. And I said this before about Armas. Whatever about his managerial career as a coach, he's literally just carrying out the instructions of the manager and training. That's his job. So it's not his style and his way. But if Skubala is likely to stay with Jesse's system, then it's going to be the same team, same system. But what was said earlier on, I think Jesse put a bullet in his own head yesterday because you don't leave 70 million quid's worth of talent sitting on the bench when you're fighting for your life and your job. You start them. You put them straight into the game.
He must have been aware, mustn't he, that it could have been his job if he wasn't.
I don't think he was, bro. According to this article, he went into work today and was shocked that he was sacked. So
yesterday he looked like a man who had been told something is happening because he is the first post-match press conference where he looked actually dejected at that moment.
They probably said we need to meet him with you later or something.
Yeah. He went into work today to collect his stuff.
And
that's
he's gone. Oh, shit.
Last night.
Okay.
What I can't understand from everything today is the fact that Armas is still at the club. I don't get it.
I genuinely thought they forgot they'd hired him because it's only just happened. I thought, here's a list of all the coaches that have been let go. And I was like, well, they've clearly just forgotten that Chris Armas has got a job. His visa's just cleared.
Could it just be because he's just been signed? So, like, is it contractually? I don't know.
They need somebody to take training. That's what
he's true.
Here, I say till the new guy comes in, and the new guy will bring their own person in. And
he's still in his probation. You can get rid of him.
Just can't even sack him.
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad. It is mad. I don't know.
I'll be honest, I'm surprised that March is gone because whatever people call it, I heard Square Ball referred to him as a blogger. And I know that's his background in his starting position, but in coaching circles, he's very highly thought of. His understanding. You don't have to be a great footballer to coach football greatly. Jose Mourinho is an awful footballer.
I say Jose Mourinho.
Just it's an example of it. To be a good manager, you've got to be able to understand the game and communicate that to people effectively. Great players don't always make great managers because they can't teach people how to do what they did. It's an ability to teach somebody. So I mean, March is well thought of. I was shocked at that one because I always looked at Granny March. There's a moment at the start of the season where Leeds celebrated a goal, and Jesse kind of pushes March away from him real quickly, and I just thought, he's not Jesse's pick. He's not who Jesse wants as assistant. And March was hired as the assistant manager until Chris Armas was hired last week. And then he was referred to as the assistant manager, which suggested we didn't have one before that. But I was under the understanding that March was the assistant manager. And I was shocked that he was let go. Of all the coach I thought they'd keep, it would be the one that wasn't one of Jesse's team. And so I'm surprised to see Chris Armas still there. I'm surprised that Rennie March is gone.
I'm just glad they've all fucked off, to be honest.
I wonder if he's gonna be taking the same sort of training that Marsh was doing, because
Netflix.
It's bleak.
Marsh said something in an interview that he doesn't do any drill in training sessions for more than 4 minutes. After every 4 minutes, they'll be doing something completely new. But now, he may have done research into this, but to me, that is not conducive to taking things in and to learning things. It's like, oh, we've just got started on this. Oh, shit, we're doing something else. That's what he said out of his own lips.
It's a complete opposite to how the previous managers trained, where they do something, stop, discuss it, do it again, stop, discuss it, rinse and repeat. It's a complete flip on training.
Repetition. If you want to learn something, it's repeat. Make it muscle memory. If you're doing it
the players don't have short-term memory loss.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, listen, things are looking up, hopefully, and Wednesday might be rough. I think we can all accept that fact, but we'll be much more accepting of it had Jesse still been in charge, and it might go a similar way. But I think the club maybe were a little bit scared for Sunday's game as well. Like, if we'd have gone to Old Trafford being battered, the atmosphere at Ellen Road on Sunday would have been brutal. Whereas now, everyone will be upbeat because they know that there's a change coming. You know what I mean? So,
do you imagine he was afraid of that after seeing the abuse that him and Orta got from the stadium at the end of last season? You think he went, I'm not doing that again?
No, I think that would have had some sort of.
I think they've got egos, haven't they? That bruised them.
Angus,
we've seen it. I'll tell you why we've seen it as well. After Rutter was signed and Victor Orta was seen with the 49ers gear on, right? The next signing that we got, which was Weston McKennie, when that was confirmed, Fabrizio Romano tweeted out almost straight away that right at the bottom of his tweet, Rads was pivotal in this. And I thought, Rads has gone, I need to get back in favour with these. It was all 49ers. Well, actually, I got this deal done, Leeds. Have a look. There you go. It was so obvious that had been fed to Fabrizio Romano. And
there's a reason Romano was getting a lot of stuff about Leeds before anybody else. And Phil Hay isn't getting anything anymore.
Nothing.
Phil used to be in the know. And now it's starting to press. I mean, I think Phil tweeted out about the McKennie deal with Forrest getting involved in it. I think 30 seconds later, Romano tweeted.
Exactly.
I think Rads is the one that's given Romano the details. The same with the Corbrand name yesterday. I think that was him as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Any final thoughts before we switch off, folks?
Bring on Carlos. Bring him home.
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
Sack Kinnear.
Yes. There was chat of him gone, weren't they, actually? Just while we were
last time as well, though, didn't it, when Bielsa went?
Leeds number one gaslighter. Get rid of him.
Same. I said that.
Yeah, it does sound like not everybody agreed. So that there's a chance that there's been some big bust-ups in the boardroom, and we know that Victor Orta's not shy of talking, is he? So maybe there's some big arguments gone on there.
Victor will line up with whoever's paying the bill. So I think the 49ers thing is Victor going, I'm on your side, lads. I'm with you guys now because he's
Stack the board.
Do you know what, though, right? When I went on that charity walk, I won't share any names, but I was told the club's Premier League, but the 49ers come in and it's still being run like a League One football club in terms of the people that are close to the players. Say whether you know, I think you might know who I'm talking about. People that are close to the players and all this sort of stuff are just absolute. Yeah, the knee good. So hopefully, well, not hopefully, I think in the summer when that change happens, we'll see some proper people in proper positions at this football club, I think. So watch this space on that. But listen, we'll go around the houses before we finish, just so you have an opportunity to promote your own shtick. We'll come to you, Rocco, first of all. Obviously, the return of Leeds that last night.
Yeah, you can get me on Leeds that, and you can also buy my books, Marcelo Bielsa versus the Damned United, The O'Leary Years, and League One Leeds.
There we go. Look,
and soon to be Corberan versus Bielsa.
Yeah, love that, Max. We obviously you did that great video the other day. Do we have one to look forward to when the new manager gets announced?
Yes, I'm waiting for a little bit more concrete on who it's going to be, but judging by the fact somebody said it's going to be by the end of this week, then I should be able to do a couple of hours research and get something together just so that everybody knows what they can expect from a new manager. I actually can't watch the Man United game on Wednesday night. I'm gutted because I'm at a podcast live in York, so I'm putting my phone on Do Not Disturb, ignoring all notifications, not touching my phone until I get home the next day, and I'm going to watch it not knowing what happened, which is what I did with the Newcastle game, and it ended up 0-0. So hopefully it's not like that.
Bro, I did that once, right? Working in Stockton, which is just outside of Middlesbrough, right? And Middlesbrough hate Leeds United. And I worked on it 1 in 3 Saturdays, and we were playing Chef Wednesday, and I muted everything. And my manager was a Borough fan, and we got beat 6-1 that day. And he kept coming in and laughing at me and that. And I'm going, stop it, man. Give on. I got home, watched it. I was like, oh, my fucking God.
Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, so maybe that's, I don't know. Luke, no better. How did it go with 29 anyway?
Yeah, good, man. He was all right. He was a good lad.
Good.
Clearly knows his American football. Sorry, his American what they call soccer. But yeah,
24, 42. Huh?
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
29, 42.
Yeah, came across really, really well. Good show, to be fair. He told us a few bits and bobs, which was worth knowing. Got a lot to look forward to with Weston. I didn't think he made a great debut the other day. I thought he looked a bit rusty, but you could see that there was a bit of class there that we've probably been missing in the middle. So looking forward to him. Usual show back tomorrow from 8:30. I'm not sure who's on because there's that many of us. It's like whoever's about. So yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night from 8:30 on Or to Know Better, and then after the game on probably won't be Wednesday night, probably be Thursday for the Brady and Coke after match review.
Great stuff. Weston McKennie looked rusty, and also that he'd had a few extra happy meals. Yeah, happy meals.
Always looks like that.
Yeah, I think he's just built, I watched the video where he came in and did his medical and he had his top off. There's no fat on him. He's thick set in his torso. He's like wide, but he's not like defined, but he's like
dense,
quite wide
Max,
and chunky.
dense.
Yeah.
He's just got them cheeks that you want to go like that to, hasn't he?
Get Bielsa into him and you would see a six-pack, I'm telling you. Joe, what's going over on the Leeds United view, mate?
Usual stuff, daily news, which I'm so glad somebody got sacked because I got some news after a transfer window. So, yeah, we'll have a bit of news this week. Much shorter format than it was over the window. But, yeah, and then at the end of the week, I'll have what was a transfer talk will be just Leeds news update of the week's news and a little chat about that with a couple of different people. And doing some bits with the American Leeds podcast guys as well over on their YouTube channel as well. So.
Great stuff, great stuff. They might not be your friend now he's gone, mate.
I'm
joking. I jumped in the other day. Chris, All Leeds TV, what's going down?
All the usual stuff, mate. I also can't watch the game on Wednesday night, which I'm absolutely thrilled about at the minute. I'm at a charity dinner in Leeds. Very
nice.
Very smart.
Nice.
So I won't be watching, but I intend to probably go live tomorrow night at some point when we've got a bit more of a probably direction on who the top 3 managers are potentially we're looking at, and we can have a bit of discussion about them. I certainly won't be going to Max's level around what kind of tactics he used, because I can guarantee I'm clueless and I'm not researching it either.
Max is the kiss of death if he does a video on it.
It's so true.
Now, in pure Jesse fashion, my video about the new manager will be pure Vibes FC.
Yeah, man, I love it. Mate, that's how I dine out on that stuff, man. Don't worry about it. It's good. Listen, everyone, thanks so much for the love. Some great numbers again tonight, and we're up against some big dogs. So I want to thank you all for coming in and supporting the channel. Please do subscribe to each and every one of these guys' contents as well, because, like I say, it's might look easy, but a lot of work goes on behind the scenes. So please do it. Thanks as always for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with a Manchester United preview, and then obviously doing the game Wednesday night as well. It's going to be a busy few days for us all, I think. So keep it locked, and we will see you all